12 Surprising Signs of Depression. When you imagine a depressed person, it's probably someone who acts very sad and hopeless all the time. Thing is, depression symptoms can be a lot more subtle than that, manifesting not just with emotional signs, but with physical ones as well. Depression doesn't always look like debilitating sadness, says Richard Kravitz, MD, MSPH, a professor of internal medicine at University of California, Davis, and an expert in identifying depression in primary care settings. Patients are reluctant to consider depression as a cause of their symptoms, in part because they may equate it with weakness, but also in part because they simply don't associate those symptoms with depression. Accurately identifying the problem is key, he adds, because the sooner you get treatment, the easier it will be to return your happy, healthy self. Here are 12 surprising signs of depression. 1. Shopping sprees. Is your shopping out of control? Find yourself covering up your spending? For some people who are depressed, it is not uncommon for compulsive buying, in stores or on the internet, to serve as a distraction or self-esteem booster. But retail therapy is a short-lived high because it doesn't address underlying depression. Also be aware that shopping sprees could also be a sign of mania, in bipolar disorder. 2. Drinking heavily. Nearly a third of people with major depression abuse alcohol. If you feel that you need to drink to cope with anxiety and depression, you may be one of them. Although a drink may seem like it provides a lift when you're down, alcohol is a depressant, so overdoing it can make depression episodes worse and more frequent. 3. Forgetfulness. Depression may be one reason for feeling foggy or forgetful. Studies show that prolonged depression or stress can raise the body's levels of cortisol. This can shrink or weaken the part of the brain associated with memory and learning. Depression-linked memory loss seems to be worse for older people. The good news, treating depression may also improve depression-related memory problems. 4. Excessive internet use. Prefer virtual social interactions to real-life ones? Spending excessive amounts of time on the internet? It may be a sign of depression. Studies have shown a link between high levels of depression and excessive internet use. People who overuse the internet tend to spend their time on pornography, online community, and game sites. 5. Binge eating and obesity. A 2010 study from the University of Alabama found that young adults who report being depressed tended to gain weight more around their waist, a risk for heart disease. Other studies have linked depression with binge eating, particularly in middle-aged people. Treating depression can help treat these problems. 6. Shoplifting. About a third of shoplifters suffer from depression. For some people who feel powerless and insignificant from depression, shoplifting provides feelings of power and importance. It can also provide a rush to counter depression numbness. For people who shoplift because they are depressed, these feelings are more important than the item they are stealing. 7. Back pain. Got a backache that won't quit? Studies show that depression may be a risk factor for chronic lower back pain. One study showed that up to 42% of people with chronic lower back pain experienced depression before their back pain started. Yet depression can often go ignored or undiagnosed because people don't associate it with aches and pains. By the same token, having chronic pain puts you at risk for depression. 8. Risky sexual behavior. Depression is more commonly associated with lost libido than with an increased interest in sex. But some people use sex to cope with depression or stress. Increased promiscuity, infidelity, sexual obsession, and high-risk behavior such as unsafe sex can all be signs of depression. It can also reflect problems with impulse control or be a sign of mania in bipolar disorder. And they can have serious, negative effects on health and in your personal life. 9. Exaggerated emotions. Often people who are depressed show little emotional expression. Other times, they show too much. They can be suddenly irritable or explosive. They may express exaggerated feelings of sadness, hopelessness, worry, or fear. Some are caught up in a sense of worthlessness or a feeling of excessive or inappropriate guilt. The key is a sudden change in behavior. If a person who is usually flat with their feelings becomes hyperemotional, depression may be the cause. 10. Problem gambling. Gambling can make you feel excited and revved up. But if you gamble more than recreationally, you may be depressed or you may suffer from a gambling addiction disorder. Problem gamblers are much more likely than others to be depressed and abuse alcohol. Many say they were anxious and depressed before they started gambling. No matter how much of a quick rush gambling causes, it won't provide the big payoff, relief from depression. 11. Smoking. Having trouble quitting smoking? Being depressed doubles your risk of smoking. Heavy smoking, more than a pack a day, and having a cigarette within 5 minutes of waking are common habits among smokers who are depressed, according to the CDC. While depressed smokers are less likely to quit, they can. Quitting programs that use techniques similar to those used to treat depression, such as cognitive behavioral therapy or antidepressant medications, seem to help. 12. Not taking care of yourself. What does fastening your seatbelt have to do with depression? Suddenly neglecting basic self-care can be a sign of depression and low self-esteem. The signs may be as small as not buckling up or brushing your teeth, or as big as skipping physical exams or not tending to chronic conditions such as heart disease or diabetes. Get help for your depression and you'll likely begin to take care of yourself again. If you like our video, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking subscribe button, then tapping the bell icon, so you will be the first to know when we post the new videos.